Good morning and thank you for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. Federal investigators confirmed tens of thousands of Texas students have been denied access to special education programs. Now Texas education leaders face a tight deadline to take action to fix the problem. A report from the U.S. Department of Education says the state is breaking federal law by keeping children with disabilities from getting the help they need. They found that special education enrollment fell by 32,000 students since 2004. That's despite the fact that overall enrollment grew by nearly 1 million students. Governor Greg Abbott ordered Texas Education Agency Commissioner Mike Morath to fix the problem. He gave Morath 7 days to come up with a plan. The governor also says TEA should develop proposals state lawmakers could pass to make sure school districts comply with state and federal laws. Joining us now for perspective, we have Aaliyah Swaby, who's been covering this developing story for the Texas Tribune, and Maggie Suter, a parent and a member of the advocacy group Texans for Special Education Reform. Maggie, your group has been working on this issue for years. How does it finally feel to have this order come down? Vindication?
Well, absolutely it's vindication, but at the same time, you know, it's incredibly sad because at the same time we're celebrating that, yes, this is true, and the facts are there, and the Department of Ed did a thorough investigation. It's hard not to think about those 200,000 kids who didn't get the services they need and who are adults now, you know, in probably low-paying jobs, if they dropped out, if maybe they're in jail, and it's hard to think about, you know, the future they could have had. Like the whole course of their life is altered because they didn't get the supports and services they needed when they were in school.
Who's affected by this cap? I mean, is it a certain part of the state? And, you know, I mean, was there any specific, you know, disability or anything like that that you saw was more affected?
I think the federal report showed that this was statewide. It did not discriminate in terms of which disability. I think it was something that just really permeated the entire state, and the federal government went to 12 school districts, and they were pretty geographically diverse, and in terms of the size of the district and the type of district. And so I think that really shows the fact that they had interviews that were the same with a lot of staff members, showing that, you know, a lot of people didn't feel like there was a consistent state policy on how they should serve students with disabilities, that, you know, sometimes state policy contradicted with federal law on how they should serve students with disabilities, showed that it's a statewide problem.
You know, federal education officials really started looking at this, you know, more than a year ago. What kind of reaction did they get, and how did they get to this decision?
So, I mean, federal education officials, they started with the listening session. So they came and talked to a lot of parents. They had sessions, again, all across the state. And so, again, this is something where they were extremely thorough. A lot of parents, I was at one of the listening sessions in Edinburgh, in the Valley, and there were a lot of parents who felt like they were left out of special education services because they, you know, they couldn't speak English, and so they weren't able to advocate for their kids. And school district officials were, again, they did not have the training or the correct policies from the state to help their kids.
Mm-hmm. You know, legislators, they passed, you know, a measure last session to make it where they couldn't cap special education services. What kind of effect has that had in the state?
Well, there's been a slight increase in the number of students who are receiving services. It hasn't been enormous, but we expect to see that continue to rise and get somewhere close to the national average, which is around 13%.
You know, with this order, it seems inevitable that more students will have access to special education services. Do you expect that's going to happen, and how soon?
I think it's hard to say how soon that will happen. I think it really depends on, you know, Governor Abbott has demanded that TA create a plan for improving special education and helping and finding those students who have been left out of special education in the next 7 days. And I think there'll be a lot more certainty or will be closer to at least knowing some sort of timeline on how soon they can roll out a plan that will improve things and mean more kids receiving the services they deserve and they need.
And even though there might be more access, both of you have expressed concerns that there might be a question about the quality of the services that are being offered. How do you address something like that?
There definitely needs to be some big changes that happen. There's not a lot of trust left between the public and families, between advocacy groups and TEA. There's just been so many missteps for so long, if you even want to call them missteps. I mean, they could be crimes, actually, but there's just been so much of it that there's got to be a lot more teacher training that happens, professional development that happens. There really needs to be a whole mindset shift, because for so long, everyone has had the mindset that parents are whiners and enemies. That's how we're seen, and that we need to save money and cut back on expenses and deny services when possible. And I just think that that's going to take a long time to shift that mindset.
Mm-hmm. Final thoughts on that same thing?
Yeah, I think it's important to note also that the legislature did have a time that they could have done something more about this.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of bills that were filed with regards to training teachers, with regards to getting some of this policy set back last year during the regular session, and then again when the governor set the agenda for the special session. There was opportunity for the legislature to do something, and so now moving forward, it remains to be seen what can be done before a future legislative session. What is in the realm of what the education agency can do, and then later what is in the legislature's hands.
Well, Leah, thanks for covering such an important topic, and Maggie, thanks for taking time out of your momhood for a little while to come here and everything. It's an important topic, and I know it's one that you feel very passionately about advocating for.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. This comes after a report by the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights found a lack of access to high-quality schools for many students based on where they live. The commission recommends Congress make it a priority to give states incentives to adopt equitable ways to pay for public schools. The report also calls to increase federal funding to help states out. The commission also asked to collect and monitor how states spend education dollars to make sure they are being spent effectively.